All right, moving on along to Scorpio or the ENFP. So, first, I'm going to introduce myself and tell you what is going on. So, my name is Heather, and this channel is called Underwater Panther. The work I do here sits at the intersection of astro-psychology, moral cognition, shadow integration, and cultural and psyche power dynamics. I run multiple long form series exploring how different minds, processes, values, identity, authority, relationships, and meaning across psychology, astrology, generational dynamics, culture, and consciousness. So, we are talking about ranking the archetypes, the 12 astro-psychological, in my case, archetypes from the most masculine to the feminine. Really talking about polarity, but it's fun to do it this way. All right, so before I show this ranking, I need to slow the room down for a moment. This is not a ranking of worth, morality, intelligence, or superiority. This is a ranking of which archetypes naturally lead with masculine function versus feminine function under pressure. When I say masculine, I mean structure, direction, boundaries, responsibility, consequence, and containment. When I say feminine, I mean integration, attunement, relational intelligence, meaning making, and emotional continuity. Every archetype carries both, but every archetype has a default lead function, especially when systems destabilize. And here's the critical point. When an archetype is forced to lead from its non native polarity, it doesn't become balanced, it becomes overextended, distorted, or resentful. So, as we move from the most masculine leading to most feminine leading, we are not moving from strong to weak. We're moving from structure first minds to connection first minds, each carrying moral weight differently and each breaking differently when overloaded. With that clarification, let's look at what healthy versus distorted masculine and feminine actually looks like. Now, I'm going to run through the list quickly. And then I'm going to pull up your key card and get into your archetype. So, number one, we have Capricorn ISTJ due to Saturn containment and consequence. Number two, Aries ESTP, Mars initiation and force of action. Aquarius or INTJ, structural ethics and systems direction. Leo, number four, ESFP, visible leadership and morale direction. Number five, Sagittarius or ISTP, meaning, direction, doctrine, pressure. Number six, we have Virgo, the ESFJ, standardization and corrective containment. Number seven, we have you, Scorpio, ENFP, power containment internally and control risk when split. Number eight, we have Gemini, ENTJ, androgynous bridge, oscillates, can look masculine when detached and feminine when attuned. We have Taurus, the ESFJ, yin or ENTJ, or E, what is it? ESTJ. Yes, ESTJ. Okay. I didn't write that in here. I always trip up on Taurus. And it was like the second book I wrote. It drives me nuts. Yin, stable but outwardly quiet authority through consistency. Number 10, Libra, ENTP, relational governance, harmony first outwardly. Number 11, Cancer. I'm getting tired. Cancer. ENFJ, there you go. Protective containment, but feminine leading via emotional safety. And number 12, last but not least, Pisces, INFJ, dissolution, unity, and compassion first. So now that I've murdered that, let's move on to your key card. All right, so I did make these many years ago. I combine astrology with psychology. You are looking at the ego. The ego is broken down into 4 sections according to astrology and psychology. The psychology portion is the hero, parent, child, and inferior. The astrological, you call it ruler, exaltation, left field, and fall. So, Scorpio or the ENFP, internal masculine power and external feminine depth. The shadow bearing archetype. Why Scorpio is ranked 7th. So, power follows repair, depth comes after systems. Scorpio does not appear early in the sequence because power without preparation is destructive. Before Scorpio can do its work, several conditions must already exist. Structure must be present, so power has container. Action must be disciplined, so force does not become chaos. Systems must be intelligible, so corruption can be identified. Morale must still be alive, so truth does not annihilate hope. Meaning must be coherent, so exposure does not dissolve purpose. Systems must function well enough that shadow can be distinguished from simple dysfunction. Before power can be wielded, structure must exist through Capricorn. Action must be disciplined through Aries. Systems must be intelligible through Aquarius. Morale must be alive through Leo. Meaning must be coherent through Sagittarius. And systems must function with Virgo. Only then does society face what Scorpio carries. Scorpio is not here to lead first. Scorpio is here to deal with what everyone else avoids. Where other archetypes manage reality, Scorpio interrogates it. Where others stabilize, Scorpio penetrates. Where others repair what is broken, Scorpio asks whether the break itself was telling the truth all along. Scorpio's question is never polite. It is never comfortable. It cuts directly to the core. What is true underneath all of this? When Scorpio leads too early, power devours the system. When Scorpio leads at the right time, transformation becomes possible. Scorpio is not the beginning of civilization. It is the reckoning that determines whether civilization can evolve or must die to be reborn. Core function, how Scorpio is built. Scorpio is a water sign with a mixed, well, temperamentally speaking, it's fixated on their own feelings and emotions. Water temperament astrologically represents the feelings and emotions. Fixated, so they are the odd man out of the water signs. I hardly call Scorpio a water sign. They're more like fire within the water, the dormant volcano, the atomic bomb. They have introverted feeling parents, so they are extremely fixated on their own emotions and feelings. So don't ever get that effed up. All right, so that is deeply misunderstood. Scorpio is masculine leading internally and feminine leading externally, which creates its signature intensity. So I know most of the psychologists would argue extroverted intuition is extroverted, so it must be masculine. They must lead with any, so they are masculine. And I reject that because there is so much more to this. Intuition is, regardless, a feminine thing, whether it's extroverted intuition or introverted intuition. And you also have to see there's Mars and Pluto there. That is absolute warrior energy. You have your Uranus exalted. That is the chaos shaking everything to see if it will hold. We have Venus and Earth in left field. All of the feminine is internal. And then you have the moon hiding in the fall, which is also feminine. So very masculine, very feminine. It is a split polarity. All right. So internally, Scorpio's masculinity governs will, penetration, control, and the capacity to hold enormous intensity without breaking. This is not loud masculinity, it is contained power. The ability to endure pressure, secrecy, and emotional extremes without flinching. Externally, Scorpio's femininity governs depth, attunement, emotional gravity, or magnetism, and relational sensing. Scorpio feels everything. It tracks subtle shifts in tone, movement, and emotional undercurrents. It does not need words to know when something is wrong. Driven by Pluto with a cognitive tone, of extroverted intuition and introverted feeling. Scorpio's psyche is built for one task: truth under pressure. Under stress, Scorpio's process is relentless and surgical. It detects, it penetrates, it exposes, and it transforms. And when everything else fails, Scorpio asks the one question no one wants to answer: is this true at the core? Not surface truth, not socially acceptable truth. Core truth. Moral load, what Scorpio carries. Scorpio carries existential moral weight. Its burden is not rule keeping or belief holding. It is the burden of holding what society represses: shame, fear, desire, violence, death, betrayal, and power itself. Scorpio often carries unconscious material for other people, absorbing what they cannot face without collapsing. Scorpio does not moralize, it reveals. This is why Scorpio feels heavy. The weight it carries is not personal, it is collective. Scorpio stands at the edge of taboo and says someone has to look. Someone has to hold what happens when illusions die. Someone has to contain power so it does not become predatory. Scorpio's morality is not about goodness, it is about truth without annihilation. That's why Scorpio feels so heavy. How Scorpio resists and falls into identity capture. Scorpio is notoriously difficult to gaslight. It resists capture through motive, detection, emotional truth testing, power, recognition, and sensing incongruence long before it becomes visible. Scorpio knows when something is off, even if it cannot prove it yet. Self-fulfilling prophecy. However, Scorpio becomes vulnerable when trust collapses. Wounded attachment, betrayal trauma, unresolved power hunger, and secrecy without elder containment destabilizes Scorpio's discernment. When this happens, Scorpio stops sensing truth and starts controlling reality to feel safe. The shift is subtle but devastating. Detection becomes suspicion. Privacy becomes secrecy. Discernment becomes paranoia. Power becomes dominance. What collapses when power is uninitiated? Scorpio requires initiation into power. Without it, power rots. When societies lose elders who can teach restraint, when sacred rites foreshadow disappear, when taboo domains are left to secrecy instead of stewardship, Scorpio is left holding power without guidance. This creates obsession instead of wisdom. Lost Scorpio experiences hypervigilance, paranoia, moral absolutism, and fixation on betrayal. The world begins to feel dangerous everywhere, and intensity replaces trust. Modern distortions follow predictably. Exposure is confused with truth. Intensity replaces wisdom, annihilation replaces transformation, and control is exerted through secrecy. Without initiation, Scorpio either dominates or self destructs. Split risk, the true danger zone. Scorpio split is among the most dangerous when unacknowledged. It looks like intensity without containment and secrecy replacing privacy, power divorced from conscience. This is where the critical distinction matters. Down low behavior is not fluidity. It is split identity, secrecy, and non consensual harm. Scorpio's danger is not desire. Desire is honest. The danger is splitting, concealment, power games, loyalty testing, and control through fear. When power operates in shadow without elder containment, harm multiplies. All right, so I'm going to look at my other notes real quick and make sure I didn't miss anything. All right, so I'm going to go into the masculine and feminine expression, how Scorpio feels to others. Scorpio men often express intensity, privacy, controlled presence, and power through restraint. People feel pulled in, watched, and exposed, especially if they are hiding something. When integrated, this creates depth and safety. When split, it manifests as secrecy, compartmentalization, double life behavior, and control through withholding. People feel pulled in. Okay, so I just said that. It's shadow. All right, I did mention that already. So I do need to still do a little bit of editing. All right, so moving on to women. Scorpio women express emotional gravity, perceptive attunement, and a quiet, I know energy. People feel seen, held, and interrogated, even in silence. When split, this turns into hypervigilance, loyalty testing, shadow overload, and emotional labor saturation. Many people become angry around Scorpio women because they feel seen without consent. The core tension for both is the same. Power without initiation becomes domination. All right, I'm going to look at this other note. So, function, bias, truth, shadow, transformation, masculine leading Scorpio, moral weight, feels existential, carries unconscious burdens for others, shadow, vengeance, and extremes, feminine within Scorpio, emotional alchemy, and truth without annihilation. In men, secrecy, and women, emotional labor overload. So the core social duty: expose what's hidden, hold taboo truth, and enable transformation. What Scorpio gives society: psychological honesty, shadow integration, and depth. Shadow if unintegrated, moral extremism, control through secrecy, and vengeance, like I said. They see hidden motives. They're very good at that. Okay, so I did add quite a bit here. Not sure where that portion is. So the lead function is to detect, penetrate, and transform. Sees motives, hard to gaslight unless wounded attachment hijacks perception. Collapse, disorientation, feels power with no safe right, paranoia or obsession. Can distort into secrecy and loyalty testing. I did mention all of that. I think I did a pretty good job combining these two. I did. Okay, I thought I added. Okay, I probably put it in this side. Great. All right, so we're going to move into the 4-point planetary and cognitive architecture. Why Scorpio feels so intense. Scorpio's inner system explains everything. All right, so we have Pluto ego core, penetrates beneath surface reality, tracking hidden motives and power dynamics. When healthy, it produces a psychological honesty and surgical precision. When split, it collapses into obsession, paranoia, and absolutism. They are certainly very black and white thinking. They swing from extremes. They have no middle ground, all or nothing. Yeah. And we have any and Pluto catalyzes transformation by breaking stagnation. They do kick the dust off of people's shoes and destroying illusions. Healthy, this creates renewal and liberation. Shadow, it becomes chaos for its own sake. Destruction without rebuilding and emotional detonation. Burning the bridge, slamming the door. And then we have extroverted thinking in Earth, attempts to manage risk and structure power. Integrated, it produces strategic restraint and responsible authority. Split, it turns into micromanagement, coercion, and dominance patterns. Then we have SI inferior, holds trauma, memory, and fears repetition of betrayal. So they have a huge, their entire, what do you call that? They have a lot of baggage with stored emotional trauma, and it's like repeated in their head. They can't stop it. It's constantly playing. They have no control of it. It's kind of like intrusive thoughts. They have hardly any control over it. So they do hold grudges forever, forever, forever. Um, so when healthy, it becomes trauma-informed wisdom. Shadow, it clings and fixates to revenge scripts and cannot release the past. So everyone's been burnt by Scorpios. They're extremely intelligent and they will get theirs in the end. So together these functions explain Scorpio completely. Excuse me, detects truth, forces transformation. TE tries to control outcomes. SI remembers pain. Scorpio succeeds when power is contained. Scorpio collapses when power is uninitiated. The integrated role and the payoff. Integrated Scorpio is not destructive, it is precise. It is the surgeon of truth, the one who cuts only what must be cut and never for spectacle. Scorpio's highest expression transforms without annihilating. It brings shadow into consciousness so life can continue honestly. Or more simply, Scorpio transforms without destroying what it touches. Scorpio doesn't lie, they just don't grant you discovery. All right. Virgo repairs systems, and Scorpio exposes what systems look like or what systems hide. Next, we move into the archetype that must restore balance, connection, and relational order, where power alone is no longer enough and harmony must be rebuilt without denial. All right, so I think I'm losing my voice. I'm probably going to have to cap it here tonight. I've done hours and hours of video. So anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe. Feel free to leave your comments, thoughts, and feelings in the comment box, and I will see you in the next video.